Are we going? Or
I'm going. Yeah.
are these all three good? Okay, perfect. We're still gonna avoid all sorts of numbers because we don't know the orders. But I spoke with you earlier on, Tom. First of all, Tom, hello.
How's it going,
Andrew here. We had a conversation earlier on where you asked me the name of this podcast.
Yeah.
So before we tell the public again, what was your immediate criticism of the name of the podcast?
My immediate criticism of the name, I guess I was trying to figure out the meaning of
The
it.
context.
Yeah.
But once you understood the context, there was kind of like a light bulb moment, which is a eureka moment.
Yeah. I always
There we
like
go.
those abstract ideas, you know.
So welcome back. This is None of You Have Asked Me with Andrew McGahan. I'm speaking to Tom. Tom is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He was the youngest person in Ireland at the time and still to this day to be promoted to black belt. Despite there being currently younger black belts in Ireland, Tom was the youngest promoted at the time. So he just wanted to get that correct.
Yeah.
Tell the world, the small listening world, you went off to Miami basically on a decision that you needed to do something for your own personal gain, for your own improvement. Not a lot of young people make those decisions anymore.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I've always been into doing kind of spur of the moment decisions. I'm not very good at planning things, so I would just I'd have an idea and I'd try and go for it. So when I was 19, I had a bit of money saved throughout the year because I was getting the government grant to go to college, and I didn't really spend much of it, the college lifestyle. And then the summer, I just had the idea that I'd like to go somewhere where I could do nothing but training, because the gym I was in was kind of part-time hobbyist type gym, and I just wanted to make use of my summer and go and train and get good. And I liked it over there, and then I tried to go back as many times as I could. Yeah.
What was your initial thoughts on when you went over to the States of training?
My initial thoughts, I just thought it was amazing to see people who cared as much as I did. I always thought I was kind of not insane, but a bit too obsessed with it, And over there, they just all were very professional. Everyone would train a lot. Everyone was trying to improve as much as they could. And it was just nice to be around people that were very similar to me,
I think one of the things I remember you telling me about that was how you met a lot of people who you'd perceived to be like high-level stars, who were established in the community.
Yeah.
You just realise, these are just people, and they're living in the same house with me, or they're living next door to me.
Yeah.
Was that a part of a breakthrough, do you think, in being like, if I now know these people in a physical, face-to-face level, that surely I could get to their level too?
That was probably the biggest thing that I took away from it. Besides the actual training and getting better, was just the mindset of knowing there's nothing special about these people that you see that are good. And I think it's that way for pretty much every sport. I just think if you train, if you love it, and if you want to get better, you will. So that's kind of what I learned. Yeah.
What was it like then when you came back to Limerick after indulging yourself into this dream lifestyle of being around jiu-jitsu all day in a possibly way better climate than Limerick in September? What was it like coming back, or did you feel that the transition back into good quality training was immediate, or has it been trial and error?
It was tough. Yeah. Like every time I've come back, I get sick straight away because you're jet lagged. It's raining because it's Limerick. And then you just I would rest less. Like over there, I would just train, eat a burrito, take a nap, train, go to sleep, and then do the same thing the next day. But in Limerick, I have to cycle around the place, I have to meet my friends, I have to go help my family with different things. These are all nice things, but it's tiring as well when you're trying to train a lot. So I'd always get sick. But it was good to mix the two of them, because when you're training a lot like that, you can't keep it up all year. So then when I would be back at home, training partners and times that I could train would be a lot more limited. So I'd have to focus on the quality of it, or applying the things that I learned away, and just trying to improve like my skills more in at home, and then I could get more like the hard training when I went away.
Do you think that there was one, if any, particular thing that you noticed people doing abroad that you were like, this is must apply back home? Must, whether it's like a stretch, a warm up. I might not wanting to give your answers, but I know that your approach to positional sparring is probably the most unique in the country at the moment.
Yeah, there was none of that going on there really. It was more the discipline of it and the not being soft, and training. Not training through injuries, but training around like different niggles that you have, and to just not be soft and just get in as much training as you could, and to try and get quality rest as well. So it was more the serious approach that I took with me.
What was your reaction from your immediate friends and family when you were like, I want to do this as my job?
It was tough enough at first, because I've always been kind of one of the smart kids. So my parents would have thought that I would, go to college, get a degree, maybe study even further and try and be good in whatever area I wanted to be good in. And at first, I suppose they thought, because they hadn't seen people making money from this kind of, like, it'd be different if I was a really good football player and I was doing trials for Liverpool or someone, it would be different. But because they hadn't really seen people have success in this area, they thought I was just going down wrestling with my friends. They didn't know that they didn't believe the ambitions that I was kind of telling them. But then as I started to win a few more competitions, it kind of took the pressure off. My dad supported me a lot originally, because he had kind of a original job himself. So he would always tell me on the sly, like, look,
ignore your mother,
keep doing what you're doing. And my mom really supported me as well, but she was more hesitant, and she's a teacher, so she kind of thought that I would be a bit academic as well.
I heard a story you didn't study for your leaving cert.
No.
And what points
a little
did you
bit
get?
A little bit. I got around 500. Funny enough, I got 495, and I know because my mom said she'd give me 100 or 200 quid, maybe even more, if I got 500 points. And I got 495 points. She gave me nothing.
That's ridiculous. But you didn't study for it, so that was more that.
I did study a bit, but I didn't study too much.
So that's kind of linked now into, and we will introduce you after this, but I feel how that thought process helps your jiu-jitsu so much.
It does, yeah.
Because you're like, I don't want to say that you naturally have a smartness, but I think that cognitively, if that's the word I'm using, how your brain works is the same in terms of retaining information. Yeah. So it's like the way that the leaving cert is, it's a memory test.
I used to
So as long as you're listening in class and you're conscious when you're being taught, then it's probably going to stick deeper than you actually realize that it does. And I think that applies to jiu-jitsu. I know, like, if you're watching jiu-jitsu or listening to people do jiu-jitsu, or you're just not training, you'll still be able to try the thing that they had done the next time you train to a relative level of success.
Exactly, yeah. And those kind of things, that's what I like about jiu-jitsu. It's very similar to a lot of other subjects or different things that you're trying to be good at. It's just another subject that you're trying to be good at. And I remember in school, everyone would be busy learning off the way to do things. And I was a bit lazy. So I would try and find creative ways to kind of get around it, or the most efficient ways. Like, everyone would be learning stuff in the textbook, and I would just kind of learn the patterns of the exam questions, things like that. So I might do 20 minutes of looking at the exam questions and seeing, this always comes up, this always comes up. I know that. Other people would spend 2 hours reading things that don't matter,
So when jiu-jitsu falls on its face, you're going to set up a popular YouTube channel predicting the leaving cert.
Yeah.
What's coming up on English paper 1 this year, next year. Because those guys are on YouTube and they get a lot of hits. Yeah, I can remember when I was doing my leaving, there was prediction videos on YouTube of people who do grinds being like.
I just love finding easier ways to do things. I love that.
What is it about that? The simplicity or the?
I don't know. I think it's just a personality thing as well. I hate being early. I hate being early. If I'm 2 minutes early, it drives me nuts. I feel like I've wasted 2 minutes.
What, you'd rather be 2 minutes late?
Well, I'd rather try and be bang on time. And if I'm 2 minutes late, then it's okay. You know?
Apologise.
But if I'm 2 minutes early, I'm like,
could have been doing something else.
I could have been watching some stupid YouTube video for 2 minutes before I came.
Okay, well then, Tom Halpin, welcome to the studio. Tom Halpin, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under one of the most decorated competitors of all time, Ricardo Cyborg Abreu. You are Roberto. Did I say Ricardo? Okay, sorry.
There's so many Abreus. It's easy to mix them up.
Okay, Roberto.
Yeah, Roberto.
Sorry.
No worries.
You hail from Limerick, and when, as we said there, you went away to Miami for a couple of summers when you were younger to be able to train. You ended up getting your black belt 2 years ago.
Yeah.
About 2 years.
Pretty much exactly 2 years
around 2 years ago this time. And then just applied yourself massively towards the competitive scene at the highest level. My first question for you in relation to that, and there won't be full jiu-jitsu discussion on this. I know we'll get the jiu-jitsu audience in, but we'll keep them for the authentic conversation.
Yeah.
What you didn't achieve at purple or brown belt the things that you achieved within your first 6 months of black belt first 12 months of black belt. What was that like in your head from going to thinking like you're showing up at purple and brown and maybe not getting the results that you wanted to then like becoming like an industry leader at black belt?
Yeah, I guess a lot of it was when I was coming up through the ranks, I always wanted to be at the next rank. I always wanted to be as a black belt. And I just thought everything until I'm black belt, like pro level kind of, everything until the pro level is just training. So then once I got it, I was like, now it's time to go. Like I wasn't even training that much since I got my black, like when I was a lower belt, I was training a lot more. I was a lot fitter and different things. But when I was black belt, I was really trying to just win, you know, whereas at the lower ranks, it was more about practice certain things, win a specific way, do these tournaments. And once you get the black belt, it's like, now it's time to go. And I was just very motivated. I was very competitive then. In my mind, I was ready to win, and I'd do anything to win, you know.
Was that because that you maybe unexpected getting your black belt at the time that you got it, or did it seem like a shock to then get it? You're like, oh well, the person much better than me has this belief in me that I can do it, so he watches me train more than I watch myself train. Yeah. So I should probably trust that person.
Yeah, and funny enough, black belt was one of the ones that I did, like I felt really ready when I got it. Most of the other ones you think, oh, I'm not sure but as soon as I got my black belt, I just didn't really care if I was ready or not. I was just thinking, now there's no excuses. You're in the pro leagues and now it's time to go. You know, and I thought, even if I'm not ready now, I'll be ready in a few months, you know.
What's the relief feeling in terms of, like, I don't want to say winning your first match at black belt, but in terms of realizing that these people are just humans and that you are actually as competitive, if not more.
Yeah.
And to reference a match in particular, when you lost to Paulo Miao, like, not the only Irish man to have lost to Paulo Miao. Chris Bow lost to him in the semi-finals of the Worlds a couple of years ago at brown belt. And to me, it was like, to see that in such a competitive exchange, I was like, oh, there's no excuse for no one in Ireland never to believe that they can get to the highest level of jiu-jitsu anymore. Yeah. Despite losing, there's no reason why anyone could ever think that now. Yeah. That it's not possible.
That's it. And that's what I tell everyone, is that these people that you see, they're nowhere near as good as you think they are.
Yeah.
Nowhere near. And I think it's similar in all sports. Like, certain people, they seem like they're not even human. But really, it's just, you can get them if you work for it, you know.
Is that based around your how you're saying you approach things like sequences and patterns?
Yeah.
Do you think, can you explain how you've applied then that into jiu-jitsu to maybe make you more successful thus far? Yeah. Like, if you need to be technical, avoiding the fact that there's 3 people in the room who won't understand it. Yeah. There may be someone who will understand it, and then they're like, oh, this is the detail that I need to go on and do that. So if you have to be technical, it's okay with
it's more about, the idea for me is to try and get really good at the things that actually work. You know, like, if you were playing basketball, instead of having a load of fancy moves to try and get past someone, just look at what really works, like what skills really make you a good basketball player. And the same with jiu-jitsu, what skills really make you good. So finishing the match, I would just be obsessed with, anytime I get a chance to submit someone, be it choke them or joint lock them, I want to be able to finish it and take the chance. I hate seeing, it's just a thing that I've never really liked looking at, is someone who does loads of hard work and then misses out on the finish. You know, so I put a lot of time into finishing the match and kind of start at the end and work my way back. Yeah. That's kind of the approach that I would have. And any problems I find along the way, as I'm working my way back from the end to the overall game, I'll try and solve that problem as I go. And then you just get further and further back. And then all of a sudden, you have a really good understanding of your whole game with a really strong finish as well. So that's kind of the approach.
If you were to, it's one of the hardest things, I think, in the world to explain to people who don't do jiu-jitsu or understand jiu-jitsu, but through this as well, I also want to try and make, maybe to pique some sort of curiosity in people or interest, to maybe then go and train themselves or otherwise. If you could speak to yourself as the white belt or the blue belt after you had gotten your first realization that jiu-jitsu worked. Yeah. I know for me it was something along the lines of being the smallest person in the gym for about 6 months until another small person came. Or until more people started joining, and I realized, oh well, this does work. It's not just me getting beaten up every single day by bigger, stronger people who are always going to be better than me. Yeah. So what was your, like, breakthrough moment, if you can remember it?
I don't really know. I remember always thinking that if I do the technique perfectly, it'll work. It doesn't matter. And I don't know why. The first kind of exposure I had to jiu-jitsu was through that UFC Xbox game.
Right.
And I was like, what is this? I thought it was you know, so weird, like all the moves on the ground. I was like, this is mad.
But this would have been like a very early UFC game, correct?
Oh, it was the
you
first
started
one, I'd
training
say.
in like 2009.
And yeah,
or
no, 2011.
11.
Yeah. And I was playing that, and my friend used to always beat me because he had it. Then I'd go over to his house and play it. And then I started thinking, oh, if I take him down to the ground, I can do this. He didn't have a clue what was going on, and he'd be really annoyed. You know?
So basically a video game got you started in Jiu-Jitsu.
Kind of, yeah. And even back in the day, I don't know if you played the SmackDown versus Raw.
Absolutely.
I think SmackDown versus Raw 2, maybe. And that was a good one back in the day. I was probably...
The submission system
10,
in the wrestling
11, 12.
games.
And I would always be like Chris Jericho and try and do the walls of Jericho to people and submit them. Because...
SmackDown versus Raw had a very progressive analog submission game. The submission was done around the right analog stick.
I just remember pressing the buttons so fast to try and...
and do it.
Yeah, so I always kind of had submissions on the brain.
I think one of the things that I found like best is a person's reaction to you when they actually start enjoying it. Like you can drag a friend to it and they're like, well, why would I want to do this? Like, and then it could take a month, it could take a day. Yeah. But something clicks with them that they realize this is effective. Yeah. Have you found it hard to try and get friends and family and stuff into it?
I kind of have. Yeah, I haven't tried too much.
I think it's impossible.
Sometimes I just say, do it if you want, and you know, because I've tried a bit, and then you end up just wasting time. You know, and I kind of like that it's my thing as well. You know, that I just go and do my thing, and it would just annoy me that my friends would do it and they wouldn't take it seriously or something. So I I'm lucky that I have a lot of friends that know nothing about jiu-jitsu, so I can kind of step outside the world.
They're and then separate.
And then I have a lot of friends that do it as well. So it's kind of it's a nice mix.
For someone as young as well, you're very well travelled. You lived in Spain for a little while. You offer
a little bit
jiu-jitsu seminars not only in Irish, not only in English, but Oscuelga and in Spanish as well.
I'd love to do an Oscuelga.
Do you think that is there any Irish
maybe
native?
6 people would go.
6 people able to speak. Yeah. I'd say there's more, but I think
maybe.
I think we just need to find the culture, find the people who are willing to do it.
Yeah.
When you
but the Spanish one was cool. Yeah.
What was it like living in Spain? Or actually teaching in a different language?
Yeah, well, I just taught the seminar there in Spanish. I only lived in Spain for a few months, really, because I went over with my girlfriend to just try it out, but I couldn't make it work really with the jiu-jitsu because my career was just kind of taking off, and I felt like over there I was taking a step back. So we figured out some different options, and it turned out to be good because I got some good results since then. But the teaching in Spanish was really cool. Yeah, I felt like I got more out of it than they did, which is the only
Spanish
thing.
People did.
Yeah, but I was surprised I didn't need much help, and I actually learned a lot of new words during the seminar. I'd be like, oh, what's the word for this? And the guy would tell me, and I still remember. And it's cool. I had a bit of a headache afterwards from concentrating, but
too much.
Other than that, it was good, yeah.
What is I wouldn't even say like we'll forward sell that. Like if people are even interested in like you as a person from this or anything, like you're currently teaching in Dublin, so look up Tom Halpin and Jungle and you'll be able to find out Tom training, and if you want to come and learn from him specifically,
I'll be away. I'll be leaving Dublin now in a couple of weeks.
You're going over to train for the...
Yeah, I'll be away for 3 months in America, and then when I'm back, I'll just be trying to travel, I'd say, because I have a lot of things going on at home, so I won't be coming back to Dublin, I don't think.
You're going to travel around training and...
Travel around, train and teach, and
as many places
see what's going on, yeah.
Would you try go around Ireland, or would you try go around
I'd love to,
Europe?
Yeah. I really love teaching around at the different gyms in Ireland, you know, because I know how much I've gotten from the community here, so if I can help at least inspire the people that are like the up-and-comers, or give anyone a little bit of the knowledge that I've gathered over the years, that actually, when it's in Ireland, it gives you that extra little bit of satisfaction, you know.
It's worth doing it.
Yeah.
Well then, I have a question for you about Ireland.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that some of the people, like Sam McNally and myself talked about this earlier on, and I think that it's fair to ask the same questions to see what your take on it is.
Yeah.
You've been over at the UAE World Pro. You've seen how it's all set up, how it's all organised.
Yeah.
That's all because in the 90s, a member of the royal family became so obsessed with mixed martial arts and grappling that they started studying it.
Yeah.
And 20 years on, it's now mandatory in schools. In certain schools, it's like in the educational system, it's in the curriculum. I know of people from Ireland who have left to the Middle East and they're being paid to teach and train jiu-jitsu in schools over there. So how do we get that? Or do we need it? Or why is it even beneficial? Because I think it would be the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it would be good. I don't know, it would be a tough sell. It would be tough for Ireland because we don't have, just people seem to be more resistant to change. And especially a sport that's not even an Olympic sport. The government don't give any funding for it. There would be a lot of things ahead of it in the list, you know, and that was just a lucky fluke nearly in the UAE that the sheikh, who has a lot of power, a lot of oil money, it's kind of his way or no way. So I don't think that same thing applies in Ireland. It would be difficult enough to get it going.
That's because our government got rid of all of our oil off the coast of Ireland.
It would probably be a higher percentage chance that swimming is man, you know, like something like that.
No, I would have, like, looking at how much I enjoy jiu-jitsu now as an adult, and knowing how much I enjoyed activity when I was younger, but being shite at football prevented me from really enjoying it then any further.
I think it should be a module in PE. I think PE needs to improve, and I think they are improving it, to be honest. But hopefully it kind of, they try. I think the whole point of PE is you should learn about the body, learn about exercising, try out so many different sports, because I had to try out 10 to 15 sports before I found my one, you know. So I think you should do that with the kids. You know?
And it would be very easy to make a general point about PE in Ireland. But I know that when I was younger, it would be very common amongst other schools that it would just be football.
Yeah.
Or that it would just be hockey.
Give them a ball.
Or that it would just be, here, do laps.
The PE drives me nuts, to be honest, because I don't know how you can go to school and spend hours every day improving your mind, and then spend 40 minutes a week, an hour a week improving your body, because they're the same thing. People separate the mind and the body too much, and neither of them work properly without one another. Yeah. So you need to work more on the body and work more on putting them together. You know, do PE, you should be sweating. You should be finding things difficult. You should be failing. You should be learning.
I think that's
I never sweated in PE.
No. And I can remember that PE would just be a cycle of either hockey or football. Yeah. And that was about it.
And I think the problem as well is it's not really the teacher's fault. The teachers would like to do all those things, I think, but most of the time they're just spent trying to get the kids not going crazy or arguing, or disciplining the kids, you know. But so it's hard. It's hard.
We know though that the discipline that could come from something like jiu-jitsu, or not even, it's not even discipline. I actually think while trying to explain it to someone, I think it's just like a sense of like cop on. Yeah. That like if you do jiu-jitsu and you respect your coach and you respect the person who's better than you, you realize that they could do anything to you. Yeah. Yeah. So like if you act out in any way, you realize I could get the fuck kicked out of me here. Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that the children should be in fear of the instructor or the thing, but I think that jiu-jitsu brings and develops naturally a certain level of respect and definitely turns people out of being aggressive dickheads. Yeah. Or like aggressive type of people.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's just like any other sport. The reason is there's a lot more philosophical talk around jiu-jitsu because it's usually smart people that are good, and as well, it's more personal because it's like a fight, you know. Yeah. Whereas if you score more goals on me than I score on you, I'm not going to be that upset because you kicked the ball in the net. But if you make me quit and give up and you're sweating all over me and squishing me into the ground, I'm going to be a bit upset.
It's harder to take.
So it seems more personal, but at the end of the day, I just think of it like another sport. How can I win at this sport? How can I get better? And the lessons you learn. I think if you were to be as articulate about soccer or rugby, you'd probably take similar lessons, you know.
You could probably make the same points with any sport.
Probably could, yeah.
But I think that there is you can make a point or you can feel a point.
That's it.
And I think that so pure, jiu-jitsu people will feel it. So that's where I see it as being so beneficial for kids, you know, or for teenagers in a school system, because you're removing a serious amount of aggro. Yeah. You're removing a serious amount of testosterone. You're removing a serious amount of people like trying to identify or become who they are going to become as adults.
I think you see it in America with wrestling. It would probably be a similar kind of effect, and that seems to do a lot for those kids.
Well, I think America, I think, is way more in the sense that no matter what sport you are good at, there are potential educational links for it to follow afterwards. In Ireland, there isn't really that. You can't.
No, not to the same extent.
I don't know if you can get full scholarships playing GA. You probably can. Yeah. But is it as lucrative as then going on to becoming the NFL?
Well, I guess in America as well, you're under so much pressure because if you don't get the scholarship, you might have to pay $100,000 to go to college, you know? Yeah. Whereas in Ireland, it's like, what, 2, 3 a year?
I think if even at a more extreme on that is that the college athletes are just completely exploited. I know that's as a side thing. It's like those guys can't make any endorsements. You can't have your own YouTube channel. You can't build your own brand online.
No, yeah, they're very strict on it as well. Yeah,
they get early CTE and brain damage just for the paying public. Like, and that's why I'm not trying to say that everyone should stop doing other things and just do jiu-jitsu. But I do just believe that from the purpose as that, like, as humans we're designed to get annoyed. Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get annoyed, but it is normal to be irritable, or to get irked by certain things and to not know why it happened to you. All of these things happen, and I think that people have a very bad way of dealing with them if they don't have an outlet to be able to calm themselves down. I think it should be fundamental. Like you're saying, 45 minutes a week. It should be 45 minutes a day for kids doing doing exercise. For people in general, the endorphins or the serotonin or the releases of chemicals into your brain. I think that they need to be explained to people. I think to young people in particular, and as someone who has definitely seen and felt the effects of it, you don't say to a young person, scaring them isn't going to work. Scaring someone into not doing something because of something is not going to make them work. No. But saying, if you take cocaine, it will set off this effect in your brain. And you need to understand the effect that it sets off, because then people will start feeling differently within themselves and not know why they're feeling differently within themselves, and then just continue to self-medicate. And I use cocaine as the most extreme example. It could be tablets, it could be cannabis, it could be anything. And I think that people don't understand it, and it just then allows them to... sorry, that was a...
No, it was good.
That was
it was a good point.
A side thought. What is... Oh, no, Andrew. Fuck. What is...
But just...
go on.
To add on to that, I was just thinking that even... It's probably more beneficial for adults, jiu-jitsu. This is what I always think, because it's one of the rare sports that you can get into as an adult who isn't even that fit. And a couple of years down the line, you can be pretty competitive. You can be very fit. You have a ton of new friends. You have new goals, new dreams, everything. And there's few things that can change an adult's life like that in a sporting sense. You know, because going to the gym, running down the canal, that's nice, but it's not the same in terms of how much you will be motivated and how much you'll develop from it. So I think as an adult, it makes even more of a difference, because kids are always going to play anyway. You know, kids are going to be running around, climbing trees, playing tag, you know, fighting with each other, doing different stuff.
Where do you live currently with a statement like that? You live in Dublin and you think that there's children running around playing tag?
Well, when I was a kid, we were...
That's what everyone... No, I think your point is very good. And I think I've seen it with a lot, like, even if we want to talk about this stigma around mental health, like for an older male, maybe, I know I've countless times seen guys maybe like in their 30s or maybe single or divorced or something like that, and find something like jiu-jitsu and they lose so much weight. And even from the competitive aspect, then there's avenues for them to compete against people same age, same weight, you know, same problem, same family, same whatever, as opposed to throwing them in with young people. And I think that it's actually competing that brings out the best benefit effects of people.
Definitely,
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I just love seeing people like kind of release their competitiveness. You know, I love seeing, it's the same with movies and stuff. I just like seeing people trying hard at something, you know, and just being like really going for it, and it's okay if you fail. But I love that kind of grind your teeth competitive nature that everyone has. Some people just don't use it that much, so they don't, it's kind of hidden inside. But I love seeing people come and then all of a sudden they start to believe in themselves, and then they start trying to win and going hard. Like, I just love seeing that.
You realise you obviously have that effect on a lot of people within Ireland yourself.
Hope so.
So you're kind of talking about what you like seeing the most, but low-key you're also doing that for like so many people as well. So you're like practicing what you're preaching, maybe, I suppose. Would that be the... Because I use it, and
I'm definitely competitive anyway.
Like, he's my friend, so, and I would happily publicly say, like, you've been a good influence on my jiu-jitsu and my game and my belief system or ambitions. But when you won the ADCC qualifier, you won it with a position that you showed me on the very first day that we trained together. And you turned around and you said, we're going to positionally spar this. Because if you positionally spar things a lot, then when you hit it when you get to it in competition, it'll be way more natural. You'll know your route, and you'll know quicker than the other guy what you have to do. And the position was where you got reset in turtle, one arm trapped, rear naked choke, and how you won the final of the thing. To have heard and seen you say these things, to then train with you doing the same position again, and to watch you do that, like, that should be the click for anyone. Like, that should be the belief system, like, fully charged for any single person in Ireland.
That's a big part of the approach that I have with training. Just start at the end, and if you're so good at the ending of the match, if you even get close to the end, even if you have disadvantages along the way, you'll be so good and so confident that once it gets near that position, you'll end up finding a way to get
somewhere
it done.
there.
Yeah.
Because there was a nice thing on the stream of it that I thought was best, and a friend of mine who's now no longer in Ireland, Ryan, he went over to compete at the same
Yeah.
trials as well.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about it is that, first of all, you lose your shit in the video, so it must
Yeah.
have been like the most incredible,
When I won.
like endorphins like released through your
it was
body.
like a nuclear bomb in my brain.
What was it like?
Oh, it was insane. Yeah, I don't even really remember. It was just, I was crying for about
Screaming.
2 hours.
Yeah,
Because I bottle so much up, especially when I have a competition coming up, there's something coming up. You just can't, I don't like to show any weakness or any, not to anyone else or not for a macho thing. I just don't like to show it to myself. So I just keep everything in and use it as like fuel, you know. So it's like you close the door on some big stove and there's loads of fuel inside and the fire is burning. And then when you win the competition,
it's
you're
open.
like, granted, I'll just open
Yeah.
the door and then it goes boom.
Steam
and-
comes out.
Yeah, so that's kind of what it felt like. It was just,
Well,
madness.
from what I liked about it the most was watching like Ryan or Liam McCourt or anyone who was there supporting you, like their reactions in the crowd.
yeah,
Like, because I look at it from the perspective that like I would consider Ryan to be one of the best grapplers, potential grapplers coming from Ireland,
yeah,
and maybe didn't realize his potential.
yeah.
He crosses paths with someone like you. He's now living in New York, and his
And I told him how much potential he has.
yeah, and his
So I
training
hope he believed me, you know.
because his response then, whether you had told him before it or after it, or how he had just responded around you that day,
Yeah.
his reaction to you winning that was me being like, oh, this is going to be cool in 2 years' time when Ryan wins the European trials, and we
Yeah.
can say to him, that's where you
Because
realise
I had
you
a
could win the
similar
trials.
experience to him a couple of years before that. So I
What
just
had
told him.
happened?
I just went there. I trained so much for that. I felt like that was the competition that brought me from like brown to black belt, where just the training, I took it so seriously, like was really on top of everything. And I lost my first match in overtime. It's a close match, but it was against a good Finnish black belt. I was a brown belt at the time, but I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot just to have that experience. And I saw Darragh O'Connell was doing like probably the best, like the top jiu-jitsu competitor in Ireland, really. Most experienced, best coach in my opinion as well. He was competing and he got silver medal at that competition. But it was just inspiring to see him do that then. And I knew 2 years later
Would be your chance.
it'd be my chance, yeah.
I think that's the path on that, because people have done well in jiu-jitsu in Ireland or through different belts at different ranks, but no one is qualified for ADCC.
No, that was a big one.
ADCC is the premier grappling competition in the world. For no-gi submission grappling, ADCC happens every 2 years. People are invited to it, but also there are qualifiers around the world. Tom won the second European trials. And to me, like, just to see that there will be an Irish name at this.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I know that's... People would say you're celebrating defeatism or tokenism or whatever. And it's like, if you have that attitude towards being happy that there's an Irishman competing at the
of course.
ADCC, you're completely wrong.
Yeah,
because
of course.
that tokenism is inspiring other people to make them think that there will be multiple Irish competitors.
Yeah,
at
well,
it
without
in
the
future.
Irish scene, I wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know, without all the training partners, I've trained at so many gyms around Ireland and I've gotten a lot of good energy and a lot of good help. You know, like even here in Dublin, Darragh lets me train in his gym anytime I want. He's always telling me, come out and train. Like everyone supports me a lot and tries. You know, they don't have anything to gain, but they just help me because I want the help and I try and do the same for them. But yeah, I describe ADCC to people as like the Wimbledon of jiu-jitsu, you know, because the competitions are kind of graded on how much prestige they have, you know. So there's no tennis world championship. But if you win Wimbledon,
The biggest one.
you're the shit, you know. So the ADCC is kind of that, you know, it's on once every 2 years.
And for people maybe that don't even know, in comparison to some of the achievements that some of the people that you could be facing against have,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, they're all multiple time world champions.
yeah, the best of the best, like,
Yeah.
and all in their 30s, all old, ready to be taken advantage of by the 20,
Yeah.
24,
Some
20.
of them are young now, but there's a few very young people in it as well. But yeah, there's a lot of older ones.
Do you think, is your motivation for that like a name, or what is it? Is it podium? Is it gold? Is it like...
It's definitely podium.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like I think that's okay. That's an area that I'd like to speak about.
Yeah. And I want to finish the matches. You know, I want to submit some of these really high level guys and show that anyone can do it.
You can.
You know? Yeah.
Because the concept of believing in yourself or jiu-jitsu or all of that thing, people were then I wouldn't say criticize, and it's silly to say people were then, but I have always believed in a realistic goal despite everyone trying to tell me that you need to set goals.
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed setting goals.
Yeah.
But as Andrew McGahan, an individual, I should be like I had written down, I just wanted to get on the podium at the Nogi Europeans.
Yeah.
I wasn't telling myself that I was going to win them because I understand everything that has to go right to win something at such a high level.
Yeah. You just want to have the ability to win.
If you're being brutally honest with yourself and saying that, like, well, I don't sleep, eat, or live like the person who has won it before.
Yeah.
That shouldn't stop me from believing that on my best day, my jiu-jitsu can put stuff together to either win or get the podium. Like,
you can still win it. This is a very American idea of just grinding and outworking everyone and going so hard. That's not real life. That's not what gets you the results. It's not. I've seen it at every type of subject, every type of endeavor. Just the other day, one of my favorite tennis players, Nick Kyrgios, he barely trains. He was out drinking the night before his match against Rafa Nadal. Now he lost. He's not as good as Nadal. But
great examples there.
Yeah. But he's really good. He'd whoop a lot of guys that are training super
live
hard
like full-time athletes. And
but there's a lot of other examples like that. Dean Lister, people told me he won ADCC before drunk. I don't know if that's true. I hope I don't bump into Dean. He's going to beat me up.
I know for a fact that to rehydrate after his fight against Rodney Moore in Belfast in 2012, Dean Lister drank 2 litres of Fanta.
Wow.
Yeah. He was
Fanta.
Fanta.
Yeah.
Like after he weighed in, he was given Fanta, he was given pizza.
Yeah.
And I can routinely remember old school professional MMA fighters posting on their Facebook pages of double pizzas, large pizzas from Domino's on Friday after starving themselves for 4 days. Yeah. And
that's just an example of me saying how good Dean Lister is.
Yeah.
He's amazing. So
absolutely.
Hopefully Dean doesn't...
imagine what he could have done had he not stayed on the pints.
You never know, he might be worse. Like John Jones is the same thing. That kind of wild nature is just his personality. He's out partying, taking cocaine, drinking a week before winning a UFC title fight.
Yeah.
Against some killer on the other side of the ring.
I think those certain people are different.
Embracing the grind and all this, it's good, but it's not as big a deal as some people think.
I think that if you're more realistic with your goals, you can become more happier with the outcomes. Therefore, your progress towards them is a better journey than... Yeah. Like, I know that if you get caught up in that theory of, this is the grind and this has to be a thing, you then start to resent other people. You then start to resent maybe what someone else is doing or not doing because you feel like you're putting the work in. Yeah. You then see people go on about it on social media, so you think, well, I'm not doing that. Why... Like they're not training harder than me, so why are you going on like that? Yeah, and I think that our biggest enemy is ourselves. Like it's not.
Now I would say that sounds like I don't train at all. I still think consistency is the number one thing, but you don't need to run yourself into the ground as much as some people would think. As long as you're consistently getting better and you just stick with it and don't take too much time off in one go. Just keep a consistent pace up and you'll get good.
I think though, as an isolated incident, I think John Jones is just a freak. Like. I think that I also think that the thing that isn't appreciated enough about jiu-jitsu or MMA people, I say it more about MMA people, but as you say, everyone has that bit inside them that makes them grind their teeth and want to be aggressive or want to let something all out. I think that just because someone is the best at something doesn't mean they should be in a position of influence.
No.
For talk's sake, Mike Tyson, or the best fighter in the world, when they were on their come up, they weren't thinking, I have to learn how I'm going to be responsible when I'm a celebrity and have to be held accountable for other people's things. Not. But I think society doesn't allow these people to behave in the way that maybe that they're meant to behave. Yeah. Like John Jones is an animal. He's a caged animal, and he probably should only be kept in isolation to allow to do whatever he wants until he has to fight. Yeah. And then just let him fight.
Yeah. At least athletes, they know what it's like to struggle to be good at something and get through hard times, so you can take a lot of advice from them. I'd be more worried about the people looking for life advice from models and such, because you're really good at wearing pants. So I don't know, but maybe they have good advice as well.
You're just trying to take down the modelling community here.
Sorry,
they're completely against you now.
Just because I'm Irish, I'm just not good looking enough.
What could you talk about what it's like being Irish abroad? I don't want to say that. Like, I know that.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I find it, without wanting to come across as the most nationalist or Republican person in the world, because I'm definitely not. But I absolutely love where I'm from. Like, there's something about when you go away and people know that, whether it was doing interviews in America or becoming known as the Irish interviewer or stuff like that, it's like, people don't expect much of us. And then when something happens, it's kind of like, you're proud of where you come from because you realise that not just because all Americans are crazy, but just because Ireland's actually a really nice place to actually live and be from.
I just think everyone loves the Irish, you know. Half of America is pretending to be Irish, you know. Now they're probably 1/10 Irish or something, but I just think it's like an interesting, it just gets people a bit more interested in you initially because everyone likes Ireland. You know, we're a very neutral country. We don't give out, like, we're not, just kind of normal, really. We just keep to ourselves. And
it's the anniversary of it because 4 years ago today, Conor McGregor beat Chad Mendes. And
that was the best.
That's where it all came from.
That was very inspiring for me.
What did you think of it at the time? Were you in America at the time?
I was, and it was the best. There was actually ADCC camp for 2015. So there was a lot of world champions there at the same time as us. And me and a couple of my friends were there for 3 months, living in the house right beside all the like world champion jiu-jitsu fighters. So I learned so much that trip.
Were you watching the fight with them all the time?
Yeah. We had a lot of bets going because it was supposed to be Jose Aldo, and they all loved Jose Aldo, and we all loved McGregor, and we were just slagging them every day. And we won a lot of bets. Then Chad Mendes came in, and everyone thought that Chad would win easily, but we all had money on McGregor.
Had the faith. Yeah. I think that thing in particular,
that was the high point.
That's
me.
The defining, and like. Yeah. I think it's the same for everyone. I think that when he won that first legitimate title, it was the defining moment for so many people.
That was a huge inspiration for me. Like, seeing him do that, I knew that I could apply that to my own sport because it's kind of similar, you know, and he had kind of a similar upbringing. You know, he was initially talented and then he kind of had to find a way for himself to push through, because I know he has good coaches and stuff, but I think a lot of it is coming from himself, really.
As bad as it sounds.
And he was creative as well. Really creative with the different ways he would train. I think he changed the whole game and how smart he trains, you know. So I kind of applied the different things that I'd learned from him and try and twist it into the jiu-jitsu way. And since then, really, I've been training differently enough. Like, I still train quite similar to other people, but I try and make it as thoughtful as I can.
I think that's a very good point about, yes, good coaching is important. And I think often good coaching gets the majority of the praise. Yeah. As opposed to the individualistic expression from an athlete. Because you're talking about innovative, though. Yeah. Like, as bad as that sounds, I'll use my own coaching as an example. When we were talking the other day about the matrix guard, and I just said to him, you're going to get caught in this matrix guard. He's like, is that what it's called? He's like, because you've never been able to get it on me, because I just shut it down before you get there. And that's not to disparage the position. It's to say that I'm at a level where I can't force it onto my coach just yet. So he breaks it down at the early stages and moves on, if that makes sense. So it's not that he's saying it doesn't work. He's just saying that I don't need to play another game. I can just play my game and shut it down with the same concepts that I know. Yeah. I think that if I go on to become a better player at that guard, I think it will be down to a lot of innovation from my own training and development. Oh, definitely. But my coach will have had the influence on how it became so good because he shut it down so much from the start. Am I on the right track?
I just think the
track
coach,
and thinking innovation there, or what do you mean by innovation?
I just think people mix, like, when you say coach, people think of it as like the teacher, but really the coach is just the leader, keeps you going in the right direction, keeps you disciplined, keeps you motivated, can point out a little area that you're deficient in, but really he's pointing out the area so that you do it. You know, in jiu-jitsu, people expect the coach to do the homework for you as well. I'm just going to tell you what homework you need to do. If you don't go home and study the people that the coach says, or the positions, or try and practice and apply and learn your own ways to do it, then it doesn't matter who your coach is. You won't be good. So I think most of the work comes from yourself. The coach is just like a nice little bonus that can keep you on track and point out a few things.
I think that opens up an interesting discussion in itself, that then it depends on what the person who's attending the class is even looking to get out of the whole thing. Because how can this one person be 20 different things to 20 different people? Yeah. You might have a really highly strung competitor. You might have the guy who just wants to lose weight. You could have the guy who's doing it to get off medication or to, like, anything like that. So how can that one person be so many things to so many different people?
Yeah, it's a hard balance.
Are you finding that as someone who's coaching way more at the minute or teaching way more? What are your take on that?
It's a hard balance. I just try and play the role of being a leader and just trying to think, if I was training now, what would I like to get out of it? How would I like the training to go? And I don't do too much talking or chatting, or a lot of it is I put you in the situations that you can practice things that you're studying yourself, and then any help you need with positions, I'm helping, and I'm still learning how to do it as well, but I'm trying to take a bit of a different approach and put more responsibility on the students as well, you know, and then just set up a good environment. But I've taken those things from all the different gyms I've trained at throughout the years, and I just try and take the best bits from everyone, and I get a lot of inspiration from some of the Irish coaches as well that have come up before me, so I think they're leading the way.
What are we at the moment?
We are at just coming about 50.
I think I'm getting better at copping on when we're getting near to the end. You know that? That's brilliant.
That was very good.
Tell me this. You are, like, having done the seminar or wanting to do a seminar through Irish and talking about Irish abroad. What is it like? Is it Limerick? Is it your family? Is it an influence that has you proud of your heritage and wanting to keep the Irish language going?
I just love the language. I've been speaking Irish since I'm about 4 years old, because I went to Gael School primary school and an Irish secondary school as well. And all my friends speak Irish, and my 2 sisters speak Irish. And I just like it. I like the sound of it. I love that if one of my friends calls me on the phone and I'm with someone who doesn't speak Irish and I don't want them to hear what I'm saying, I can just chat away. But I just like the sound of it. I just feel good when I do it. I used to work in the secondary school that I went to as well, and I would speak Irish all the time I was there. So I've always been engaged in it in some way, and I think I
would like to learn Irish most. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see it, despite having very limited grasp of it.
I honestly don't understand why every school isn't a Gael school. Like, I don't know why we don't speak Irish in every school. We're going to learn English anyway. I don't know why you don't do physics and chemistry through Irish all the time.
Even at secondary level education?
Both. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't change that a long time ago.
This is a perfect example, because now Alana is here for the second. Can you answer? Can you give a take on that statement? I know you're...
Because I work for the Department of Education.
The Department of Education, yes.
Now, I know it's hard to get it going initially, but I just don't see why they couldn't just be like, look, we're doing this, and just try and get it done.
Yeah.
Just
same way I just want Jiu-Jitsu put in the schools.
It's going to die.
Just do it.
It's going to die, like, the language, like, and it's sad because it's a great language, and I love that you can put in your little English bits and it works perfectly.
And it works, yeah.
Like, if you want to say that something was great and you want to say that it was fucking great, you can say, like, jeez, we should fucking go home, duck. Do you know? And I just love those little things. And my favorite thing is the way you add the grammar bits onto English words. So, like, my bicycle is like
mo
roher, right? But you could say mo bicycle, but if it's you have to put a H after it. So it's actually mo bicycle or mo bicycle. So I love those.
So you're Dutch as well.
I love those
and German as well.
Yeah. And it just sounds mad. Yeah. But I love the language. So hopefully one day we'll get a big Irish seminar going in
the further record.
Maybe after a competition or something when there's a lot of people around, so there's more than 5 or 6.
Well, you weren't there, but Philip Mulpeter's event played the Irish national anthem last week.
That's cool.
It was a traditional music band.
Wow.
After the kids competition, before the adults competition, they played Around the V, and I was just like, this is actually... I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how... Because I've heard it. That's my attachment to it. Is the thing that always got me proud of being where I was from is that I would be in the centre of the eye of a storm of Irish people. So let's just say they were watching a fight. Connected around the world through one person, you have expatriate Irish expats together. Yes, you may hate them. Yes, you may have hated the sport. Yes, all of those things. But for my generation of people who have emigrated, it brought people together. And through Snapchat and Instagram and all of that, you would be able to see all of these people in Toronto, in Australia, in wherever, watching, consuming, and celebrating the fact, not because the athlete or person did something, but because it was an Irish athlete or person that did something.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing that always made me proudest of, like, seeing the achievements of other people because of how it unites so many Irish people around the world. I would like to think that we would do that again for our language in the future, despite being someone who is self-admittedly like, no, there should be Irish lessons for adults.
Definitely.
Like the way that there are jiu-jitsu lessons for adults, and jiu-jitsu.
I think there will be too. I think there will be the same way that people now, they're getting those Nokia brick phones. They're kind of
going back to phones like that. They're
going back because they're like, look, we've gone a bit too far, you know. So they're
artificial intelligence is what we're actually waiting for. We'll finish with something a little bit different. Tell me about artificial intelligence. Give me your hot take on artificial intelligence.
As long as they can't beat me in a fight, I'm all right.
What if they develop jiu-jitsu teachers? I actually don't think that you couldn't make artificial intelligence for jiu-jitsu.
Could you not? They'd only need to know one move. They'd be so strong.
Fuck.
Yeah. But anyway, I'll be retired by then.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
You'll already have won everything you wanted to win before then.
hopefully.
So before you go, what is your take on the next 12 months? What do you think is, like, if you were to honestly look back at your last 24 months and say to yourself, this is everything that's going to happen to you, you probably wouldn't believe it.
No, not at all.
So with the prospect of now that you can believe in absolutely anything that you want to get in this life, where is Tom Halpin going to be in 12 months' time?
In 12 months, I have so many different goals, but they're not organized very well. They're not planned out very well. But as you said, the last year or two, I really didn't expect to be where I am now. But now that I've done it, looking back, that's nothing. I completely expected that, and now I expect even more.
Yeah.
So I think over the next year, I'll probably just build on it. And I really feel now I'm improving more than ever before. And now I actually have kind of the name and the momentum and things like the recognition to build on it and be able to make more money, get better training, get more opportunities. So I think the next 1 or 2 years is going to be similar progression to the last 1 or 2. Probably focus a bit more on the no-gi scene, so specific rule set. Be like I'm going to focus more on the grass court than the clay court, to use a tennis analogy. And I think I'm aiming to be one of the best guys in the world. And more than that, I just want to change the way people approach it and the way people teach and the way people train. And I just want to help people understand that it's not this thing that's for the crazy Americans or the wild Brazilians to be good at. Not to stereotype them at all, they're lovely people, but I just want everyone to
learn how to Irish people do no-gi better than most people in the world.
Yeah.
Agree or not. I think so. Combine it with country genetic toughness, something within us that allows us to be good at rugby or GAA, combined with the fact that we learn it from gi primarily based instructors, means we're not the Brazilians doing no-gi once a week because they don't want to, because they have to, or the Americans who are born in wrestling. These are people who are learning how to grapple with the specific abilities of a potential Irish body.
I think the Europeans and the Americans are more suited to that style, and then the Brazilians are more suited just because that's what we've been doing. I think in Ireland the MMA has a big influence on it. That's what people are exposed to, and it's also easier to get up to a high level.
Would you ever fight MMA
without the gi? I've always wanted to, but I don't think now I will. I always thought I'd have to do one pro fight before I get my black belt to kind of make it official. But now I feel like I deserve to be a black belt, and I don't really feel the need to go get a concussion. And I just want to. My brain is what helps me win and what helps me enjoy my life. So I don't want to get beaten up too much.
Fair enough. Excellent. So Tom Halpin, thank you very much.
Lovely. Thanks very much.
That is it.
Beautiful.
Lovely stuff.